Hello, hello, officially welcome. It's so great to connect with you, everybody. If you are new to my universe, I'm Deborah Wayne, and I'm really, really honored that you've taken time out of your busy life to be here with me today. I know that if you're here, either you or someone you love is most likely suffering from some type of either chronic pain or mysterious symptoms or chronic conditions, or perhaps extreme fatigue. Maybe you have digestive drama or binge eating. There's a lot of that going around lately. Maybe you've been suffering from insomnia or a million other possibilities that bring you here today. But I want you to know that I'm here to help you. There really are solutions that are out of the box from most likely anything you've tried or even heard of for some of you. And I'm very excited that you're here because there's no accidents. And if you are here, you're ready to hear the message that I'm going to share with you today. And it's a message of hope. It's a message of good news. And that means that no matter how long you've had what you've had, I know because I hear it every single day. You know, a lot of you have probably, in fact, let's show of hands. How many of you have been trying for at least a year or longer to fix whatever symptoms or pain or problems you have going on? Give me a hands up or a star. Or what have we got in the reactions? Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Yeah, let me see what's going on in here. Yes, yes, see, all the hands are going up, right? And I bet if I asked how many of you have spent 5 years or longer, that a lot of hands would go up, right? Okay, see all the hands going up. Look at this. And there's, almost 100 people here already. So I get it. And I want you to know that no matter how long you've been trying to fix and figure out what's going on with you, no matter what you've been told, listen closely, the body is designed to heal when it's given a safe space, the right tools, the right guide to help you see the blind spots and go deeper down into the hidden reasons that go beyond the physical. Underline, bold, capital letters that go beyond the physical. And the number one mistake you're most likely making, and again, it's not your fault, there's no judgment about this. This is what you're taught to do, right? We are all taught to do this, is where does it hurt? What's wrong? Where's the symptom? And then you get focused on the symptom, and you can spend decades going down the rabbit hole, and I bet some of you have, focused on the symptoms. And here's the first bit that I want you to write down and remember and think about. The symptoms are never the root cause of the problem. Please write that down. I'm going to give you some Deborah-isms today that I want you to remember and I want you to contemplate. The symptoms are never the root cause of the problem. And what happens is that we get very focused on the symptoms. We're given a label, right? You've been given a label. You have XYZ syndrome. You have XYZ disorder. And then you're told the facts about it. And this is where people get very, very confused, scared, overwhelmed, concerned. How many of you have been up at 2 a.m. Dr. Googling to try to do your due diligence and figure out what are my choices? How do I get out of this? How do I fix this? Right? And thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and overthinking and unknowingly adding energy to the very problem you're trying to get rid of. Let me say that again. Listen and write this down. Everything is energy. And so how many of you have been thinking and thinking and thinking about the problem and thinking about the symptom and thinking about it and looking it up and learning about the problem, which is learning about the symptom? If you have been doing that, maybe you've even joined a Facebook group with everybody who's got that label. There's a lot of those groups. And I'm not here to bash them. However, everything is energy. And if you spend a lot of time and energy focused on thinking about, looking up, talking about, worrying about the symptom, guess what you're doing? You're feeding energy into the very thing that you're trying to get rid of. Now, here's why that's important that you understand this. What you focus on is where you're putting your energy. Where you put your energy, it expands, it grows. What you put your energy on, it grows. Just like if you have a garden and you water the plants, the trees, the vegetables in your garden, the flowers grow because you're watering it. You're putting energy into those flowers that you're into your vegetable garden. When you focus on your symptoms, you're putting energy into the symptoms that you're trying to get rid of. This is like putting logs on a fire you're trying to put out. Is anybody with me? Who's with me? Who gets this? Listen, this is like critically important because I know a lot of you are unknowingly suffering by doing this very thing. It happens every day all over the world because we're taught to do it. We're taught to do it. Where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Right? All right. I would like to know in the chat, or you can hit the thumbs up button. How many of you are here for the very first time on one of my calls? Very first time.
No sound.
Oh, how did that happen? Wow, have I been talking this whole time with no sound? Okay, I don't know how that happened, but I must have clicked the wrong, unknowingly clicked my mute button. Thank you for letting me know, Jean. So if you're here for the first time, I'm going to shake you up probably at least a little bit and maybe a lot today, because this is a different universe with a different understanding of health and how healing works. And so I'm so excited to have all of you who raised your hand. There's a lot of you that are new here tonight, and welcome to this world. Now, the understanding of health and healing in the conventional medical world tells you to focus on the symptoms. You're all doing what you were taught to do. However, the definition of health in this universe has to do with your mind, your emotions, your energy field. And those are the top 3 areas that we take a look at, because guess what? Your body, write this down, your body is the physical expression of your mind, your emotions, and your energy field. The body is the last place anything shows up. The last place. But in the conventional way of thinking, it's all we look at. And we try to find kind of like the car part that's broken and needs cutting out or dragging out. But that's not what happens here. And this is why, as different as it may seem or sound, and you do have to hear this a while for it to sink in. Since everything is energy, the physical body is actually not physical. Oh, let me say that again. The physical body is not physical. Oh my God, she's lost her mind. No, she hasn't. She has seen the body revealed to her under very interesting and high-powered equipment that has proven by science that your body is a vibrating mass of energy, vibration, and light. Think about that. Now, the good news and the important news about that is that energy is changeable and it never dies. That means your body is changeable. Your symptoms are changeable and they can change form anytime. In fact, they already have been and are. And I'm going to really shake you up now. What I've discovered over many years working with hundreds of thousands of people now, again and again and again, that the top two things that are influencing your physical body to show up just the way it is. Okay, here we go. It's your thoughts and your emotions. Your thoughts and your emotions are like a sculptor sculpting clay. Your thoughts and your emotions are sculpting, creating the physical. Your thoughts and your emotions are made of subtle energy. You can't see thoughts or emotions. Now, you all know when you have thoughts. You have a thinking mind, it's thinking all darn day. You can't shut it off when you want to half the time, right? It's just a thinking machine all day long, chatter, chatter, chatter. And your emotions, whether you're aware of them or not, because a lot of people have gotten very good at suppressing emotions, but emotions are there all day long as well. In fact, they drive every choice you make. Emotions are like the gas that makes the car run. They're very potent. Your thoughts and your emotions all day long, your entire life, are literally manifesting the physical reality of your physical body. However, your thoughts and your emotions are just a more subtle form of energy than your physical body. They're not quite physical yet. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the precursor to the body. The subtle, not quite physical yet is the precursor. That's what comes first before it becomes physical. Now, I know you're not hearing this on those late night infomercials or at your doctor's office. This doesn't mean that your doctor's the bad guy. It's just not part of their training yet. It's happening though. There's more and more science every day. And in fact, I just read today that the whole concept of the body-mind connection is now a clinical requirement in oncology training. When I read that, I was blown away. I mean, the world is changing, my friends, really rapidly. And this whole realm of energy, vibration, frequency is here to stay. We have entered it, we're in it, and we're going forward, fast forward with the entire understanding of health, of the body, instead of disease, crisis maintenance. We're really understanding health in a new way, and that we can affect the physical.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, at this point, oops. At this point, if you can't hear me, it's your computer and not mine. So thank you, but that is not happening on my end. So the physical body is the last place that anything shows up. And everything starts in the subtle realm, the invisible realm, which for many years got labeled either spiritual or woo-woo and kind of out there, but it couldn't be further from the truth. We know all of this from, yes, certain ancient spiritual traditions and wisdom. However, and by the way, when I say spiritual, I don't mean religious. Nothing I'm talking about today has anything to do with religion, and it's open to anyone with any belief system, and including if you're agnostic or atheist, this will apply to you. It's based on physics. All right. So if you prefer science, you're in the right place. If you prefer spiritual, you're in the right place. What's happening now that's so exciting is that the two worlds are coming together. They're saying the same thing in a different language, and they have been for centuries. And so if you look back at something like Chinese medicine and acupuncture, it's based on the energy field and energy centers that they can find in the body. But it's actually the energy field that all the new science is talking about. And it's the most leading edge science in the health industry right now. And it's very exciting. It's not something I made up. The term biofield. How many of you have heard the term biofield yet? Anybody? Okay, good. Some hands going up. More and more people are. You know, I've been talking about this, God, since, well, I didn't call it biofield because I didn't even know it was called the biofield back in the 1980s and 90s. But around the year 2000 is when I started seeing the science for the first time. And I discovered that the National Institute of Health, which is sort of the God status of the health industry, in 1992, they did a study of the energy field, and they wanted, you know, they've been hearing about it, and they wanted to know if this if this thing is real. And they did a peer-reviewed clinical study and determined that yes, there is an energy field that surrounds every living thing, including your body. And they gave it the term biofield. This energy field, it holds information. It's not just energy like, woo woo, I have a lot of energy. It's information, vibrational information. And it can be measured, and it can be found and pictured and photographed in the field around your body. This is revolutionary. And it's changed everything in our understanding. And it's a field that they've now classified in physics, which to the science world is a brand new discovery. So even though a lot of people think it's new, it actually dates way back, and many different cultures have talked about this, but it got labeled spiritual. Now, energetic and spiritual, I think, are the same words with a different, okay, that have been given different meanings, but really are talking about the same thing. It's the invisible realm. Now, one of my favorite physicists, Dr. William Tiller, he calls it the superluminal realm. Deepak Chopra has called it the non-local field of correlation. It's also known as the 0-point field. There are many names for this, all right? In the world of Qigong, they talk about the Qi field. You can call it whatever you like. I don't care what you call it, but I will tell you, I've been working in it. I've been in this energy field for decades now, and I have seen nothing but miracles, what people would call miracles, that I've come to recognize. They're not even miracles. It's a technology that doesn't require equipment. And we can access this. I access it every day, virtually, with people all over the world, people just like you. And I've seen constant, consistent healing results that many people would say it's just impossible. I'll give you a few examples in a minute, but this is so real, you know, and it's what has made me so passionate, because since, gosh, the early well, it's happened for decades for me, where I was seeing results, but I didn't have a way to talk about it for a long time. And I didn't know how to articulate the energy field. for a long time. I knew I could feel it, I could see it. I was seeing healing results, but I was also scared to talk about it because I was one of the early Reiki masters back in the early 1980s. And if you think people think this is weird, back then they didn't even, if you told them I do Reiki and I work in the energy field, I mean, people thought you were absolutely nuts. Today, Reiki is a household word. And in fact, the first thing people say to me is, "Oh, is your method like Reiki?" That's the first question everybody asks me because it's that common. And now, today, February 1st, 2024, nurses are paid to do energy healing in certain hospitals. We've come a long way, a long way. And so today I have a way to articulate this that I am so grateful for because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. In fact, growing up, I was never even interested in science because some part of me knew something's off here. I knew that as a young girl. Something's off. Something's not right. My dad was a doctor. A lot of my cousins, uncles, all my dad's friends were doctors. I worked for my dad in his office. I just knew something was off. At a very young age, I was very interested in natural medicine. And I remember having massive arguments with my parents at the dinner table because I definitely knew that food was a healing force, that nutrition had a lot of power and changed our energy according to what you eat and how much sunlight and how natural and alive the food was. And then if you came out of a box or a can or some kind of make-believe machine, that it was going to affect our energy differently. And I knew from my training as a dancer, I could feel and sense energy all around me all the time. I knew from being in nature, I bet every one of you, when you go in nature, you can sense, you can feel energy coming from the trees, the flowers, the ocean, the mountains, the snow. You can sense energy, right? And you can feel when something shifts your energy to make you feel more alive, expanded, more free, more peaceful, more calm. And you can feel energy. You can feel an environment or a person, and all of a sudden you feel exhausted and drained and heavy and like no motivation, no energy, right? You can feel it. Our biofield, that energy field that the physicists discovered, what they discovered is that it carries information. It's like a recording device that's picking up information 24/7. And your energy field becomes a living library. I want you to think of it like a library that has recorded everything that's ever happened to you in your entire life, and most likely before you even remember. I've had many people that I've worked with who remember their birth experience, for example, when I worked in their energy field, and they had a very traumatic birth experience, and we were able to resolve that very rapidly by harmonizing the energy field. You see, your energy field imprints, records vibrational information from everything that's ever happened, every person, place, and thing you've ever been exposed to. And some of what it recorded created disturbances in your energy field. So those of you who suffer from any kind of accidents, injuries, trauma, abuse, violence, neglect, any kind of illness, sickness that you maybe had even at a very young age, you may not even remember it. You were told the story of how sick you were as a baby. You may not even remember, but it was recorded in your living library. And it affects you. It affects how you think, how you feel, how you see the world. And if you didn't feel safe, if you didn't feel loved, if you didn't feel calm and peaceful, if you didn't feel secure and stable, not that you wouldn't, every moment of your life was joyful, but if you didn't feel a consistent or a great sense of peace and safety at some time, enough times in your life, that means you have a lot of disturbances recorded in your energy field. And what happens is if a lot of that happened before the age of 8 or 9, you formed the foundation of your reality and how you think life works and how you think people are and what you believe to be true about your own body and health and about money and relationships and work and your purpose. You formed the belief system based on not feeling safe, not feeling calm, not feeling loved. And this creates a problem that often doesn't show up for 6 decades. Sometimes it's 50, 60 years before people wake up and say, they're looking around and they're going, not everyone has this. Why do I feel like this? Why do I still hurt? I've been working on myself. I've been trying to figure this out. I've been a good person, right? And yet there's something wrong, and I know it's wrong, and I don't want to live like this. So if any of you, and I suspect probably all of you, have some version of this going on, you really are in the right place, because you may hit a brick wall of limitation. If you only go down a conventional trail, the only solution is often a drug or a surgery. And I personally went through health hell, and I was living on those pills and they almost killed me. And again, I'm not here to bash medicine. Love my father, love my brother, love my cousins, love those doctors. They mean well and they have helped a lot of people. But I wasn't getting the help that I needed. And it was very scary and very frustrating. And I didn't want to live like that. And I had to find a way to live my life without a pill every half hour, because that's what was happening to me. And quite frankly, it wasn't taking away my anxiety, my depression, my anger, my depression, my fear. It wasn't helping me. It wasn't solving the physical issues. My hair was falling out. I had ulcers. I couldn't eat anything without pain. My muscles ached all the time. I had trouble sleeping. I mean, nothing was working right. And I was taking all this stuff. Why? And then I went, down the whole natural trail. And quite frankly, I didn't get a lot of help there, but I got some help. And I know what I did was I started to release a lot of toxins and I worked on a physical level, but I wasn't getting to the deeper hidden reasons. And it was only when I started meditating, I did change my diet. I started eating. I'd always had a pretty strong interest in nutrition and organic foods, etc. So I was always pretty much into that. But so, I had cleaned up my diet already. But when I started meditating and I started getting in touch, here's the key, with my emotions. And I started getting in touch with the emotions and the subtle energy. Oh my God, everything changed. Everything changed. And then I became open for the first time to exploring. And that's when I started studying more of the alternative healing modalities. And I've studied a lot of them. And decades ago, I started practicing a lot of them. I became a yoga teacher. That's when I started to feel safe, because I discovered that in the yoga world, they've been talking about the subtle energy field, the subtle bodies, for 5,000 years. And so this wasn't something new and weird that only I was into. And I got validated, and I started practicing working in the energy field with people. And from the very first time, I saw pretty amazing results. So let me give you some examples of what I've witnessed. It's just been remarkable. And let me clarify. I had a really powerful experience in 1984 in meditation, and it went on for about 3 or 4 hours. And I was shown all the principles of physics. I was shown that the body's made of light. I didn't read this in a book. I didn't get this from the science to validate it till decades later. I literally could see my own body. I could feel it and see it vibrating. And I could see the walls vibrating. I just was given intuitive guidance and information that I shouldn't have known because I didn't study it. But I later discovered it was physics, the principles of quantum physics. And I absolutely had no doubt about it. I just knew, wow, now everything makes sense. In addition, I was shown and could hear that everything in the universe is made of sound and light. And I heard the sound, and I know this might sound out there still to some people, but I heard the sound of the universe is like a symphony. Every star and planet and you and me and every plant and flower and tree and dog and cat, everything has sound. But it's all like a symphony that sounds amazing together. And I could hear this. I was blown away and I could see the colors. And that's when I realized this has got me, like this has got my attention. I'm not gonna to shy away from this. I have to go down the rabbit hole. And so I did. And in meditation, I was shown over the course of a year, wow, many powerful meditations that where I got activated, where the healing energy started kicking in very strongly and coming out of my hands in a very powerful way. And I started getting guidance as to how to use this for healing, both myself and other people. Now, I didn't go hop on a Zoom call back. We didn't have Zoom there then, but I wasn't shouting this from the rooftops. My boyfriend, but when I became a yoga teacher, because I started seeing results, then I started offering it and the yoga world was more open to it. And so when I started working on people right away, I'll never forget one of the first clients I had. And in those days, I didn't talk to people at all beforehand. I didn't ask them what was wrong and where did it hurt. I didn't want to know the story because I didn't want to be influenced by what I would find in their energy field. So I would just say, lay down on my table. And I would work in the field and I would sense different things and I would interact and I would feel the flow coming through my hands. Some of you might be feeling it right now, just being on a call with me. You might hear it coming through because it comes through as vibrational frequency through my voice, through seeing my picture, and even through my hands. And so many people will be on a call like this and start to feel like, oh my God, I got to lie down. I feel pressure in my head. I'm feeling like I'm going into an altered state, which is why I say if you're driving, either pull off the road or come back later for the replay, because people drop into a meditative state on these calls. I have a private client today who said, the first time I heard you, I was getting on the on-ramp of the freeway and you were on some interview talking, on a fascia summit, talking about fascia. And when you came on to be interviewed, I thought, oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. And you said everybody, no driving, because I was going to do a demo on that call. And I said, no driving. And she said, I didn't believe that. I thought this is a bunch of hogwash. But of course, she stayed listening. And she said, within seconds, she could feel her whole body just like melting and relaxing. And she knew she was going into an altered state. And she went, oh my God, I'm actually feeling something. And she pulled off the road and she went into a full-blown healing experience. She turned into being one of my raving fan clients because she had a lot of trauma and things to work on that she didn't even know she had at the time. And this started to bring it up and move it out. So she was blown away. And this is what happens. I've worked with people now in over 160 countries. That wouldn't be able to be possible without Zoom. So I'm very grateful that I was open and willing to learn the tech, which used to intimidate the hell out of me, by the way. And so, it's changed my world because back in the 80s, we had none of this. So I worked on everybody in person. And that first client, I said, just lay down. I didn't know anything about her. And I worked on her for probably, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes. And when I got finished, and she didn't move a muscle. She didn't say a word. She didn't bat an eyelash. And, you know, part of me was going, oh boy, she's going to get up and say, well, sorry, you know, didn't feel a thing. And instead, at the end, she sat up, she looked at me, and she burst out crying, and she sobbed for 30 minutes. And she said, Deborah, I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I have had chronic pain for 15 years, every single day. I've taken every pill, every patch, every injection. Nothing has taken the pain away. She said, Deborah, I am completely pain-free. I was told in that session exactly how I got it, when I got it, why this pain showed up, and I resolved it. It's gone, and it's not going to come back. She said, I don't know what you did, Deborah, but thank you. It is gone. I was blown away, like Chandra. My eyes were bugging out of my head, and I was shaking my head and going, oh my God, oh my God. Like even I had trouble believing it. So of course it made me very interested to do this again and again. And as much as I could, I spent about 2 years researching to see if I could get fairly consistent results and positive results. And obviously, you know, this is many years later now, and I've worked on, I don't know how many thousands and thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of people now in groups, and first in an office one-on-one, and then I've traveled and done events, and then I started doing the whole online thing. That's what enabled me to reach so many people. And obviously everyone's different. Every one of you has a different case, a different story, and a different mindset, and different emotions, and different experiences that are housed in your library. But I can promise you this. There are 3 areas to look in. And if you do the work in those 3 areas that I would teach you how to do, there's nowhere else to look. And that's the mind, the emotions, and the energy field. And I can pretty much guarantee that almost all of you have been looking in the 4th area, which is the body, and not in the mind, the emotions, and the energy field. And this is the #1 reason that most people feel stuck and blocked and cannot figure out what the hell is wrong and why they don't heal. And I wrote a book about it. Here it is. Why Do I Still Hurt? I wrote this book for people like you who just can't figure out why you're so stuck. You can get a copy of this, free copy, no cost, on my website. It's a digital download to any device. If you go to, I'll type it in the chat. If you go to, hang on, let me find the chat. Where's the chat? If you go to international, oops, let me send this to everyone. International cpi.com/free gift. You can download a copy of the book. You've probably already downloaded it, maybe a lot of you, and that's how you got invited to the free call as well. There's also a masterclass there that you can access immediately on how to live pain-free. It's an in-depth call like this. And where was I? So I wrote the book because many of you have been focused on the 4th and incorrect area, and it's not your fault. You know, if you could have fixed it by now, you would have. So stop beating yourself up if you're doing that. Please stop judging yourself. Stop judging your doctors. Everyone's been doing the best they know how to do, but that doesn't mean it's the best there is. That doesn't mean that's all there is. And that's why some part of you got guided here. Whether you meditate or not, you have an inner guide. You've got an inner GPS, and something you heard or saw or felt made you click register now and show up here and take time out of your life. I love you for that. I think it's amazing. And it's validation that we can't all be on the same page without a reason. And so every time I do these, more and more people show up. There's 111 people here right now. Very powerful number on February 1st of 2024. And so if you've been focused on the physical, I want you to, if you're willing, I want to suggest that you maybe just step back from that approach and starting now, really take a deeper look at your habits of thought about whatever you consider to be your problem, whether it's chronic physical pain, whether you've been told you have depression or anxiety, whether you've been told you have chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or arthritis or some other label you've been given. Maybe you have a thyroid issue, maybe a digestive issue. Lots of people that work with me have migraines and insomnia and haven't slept for 20 years without a sleep aid. I had a brand new client 2 days ago, and guess what she told me? She slept without a sleep aid for the first time in 10 years. Sleep is one of the first things that clears up for almost everybody I work with, if you can imagine that. And these are people who have, like myself, they've tried everything, both natural and addicting pharmaceutical drugs to get to some sleep, because you know how terrible you feel when you don't sleep. It's a horrible feeling to wake up and the brain fog and you just can't put a sentence together and you don't want to do anything. This can stop. I promise you. I sleep like a log, and I haven't had a sleep aid in almost 40 years. That's crazy when I think about it. Like I didn't go a night without either drinking myself till I passed out or taking a pill. So I know it's possible. I see it all the time. The other examples that are possible. I've had people who literally couldn't leave the house because they had to be close to the bathroom, vomiting, diarrhea nonstop, food sensitivities galore. Anybody here have the food issue? Food allergies, sensitivities, whatever it is. Maybe you are a binge eater or don't eat at all. A lot of people seem to be suffering SIBO. Natalie's saying SIBO, yes. And where's the chat here? Let me see. Yes, yeah. So most people need to eat. And I think I will say most people eat for the wrong reasons. There are a lot of people who eat for entertainment, not nourishment, and eat to cover emotions. And so if you are hungry and anytime you eat, there's pain or you don't digest or you have issues there, I've watched people have nothing short of miraculous healing. And sometimes it's overnight. And also I've seen them get in touch with the deep buried emotions. Emotional pain often shows up in the gut. It also shows up in these migraine headaches that so many people have. Migraines also seem to be very related for many people to a lot of pressure. How many of you are overthinkers, have very high expectations, maybe a little perfectionitis going on? Maybe you were growing up in a all A's and why'd you get a B kind of a family. Maybe you were in medical school and the pressure was just on. Every doctor I've worked with has had chronic migraines till I worked on them. And they got them in medical school. And, they were on call 12 days in a row with no sleep. I mean, there are many reasons for these symptoms to show up. But they don't just happen, is my point. These symptoms don't just show up. There are hidden reasons. And let me go back to other examples. So I have worked with so many people with chronic pain, I can't even tell you. And it's actually my favorite because it's very clear when it goes away. Everybody notices. And so it's often people have trouble believing it because this energy healing, working in the biofield, they've done studies now, clinical studies in a laboratory that have been published. And they've done some with chronic pain. And they've seen how one of the top results that achieves dramatic healing results is chronic pain when using this, using energy healing. And so, we have the science now. And for whatever reason, that chronic pain responds very, very well to this. Now, I will tell you my understanding of why that is. Because in the field, as I said earlier, that's where the suppressed, repressed, and denied emotions and thoughts, they carry a vibrational frequency, and they're constantly going on. You're picking them up from other people, and you're thinking them yourself, or feeling, or trying not to feel is really a more important point to make. And they're vibrating in your field. And the medical tests don't pick that stuff up because they don't have the right equipment to do that. And even if they did, they're not trained to deal with busting up beliefs and clearing emotional pain. And other than giving a pill to suppress the symptom, which doesn't heal the root cause. But when you do work energetically, what happens is the vibrational frequencies that I bring in during the biofield healing, it harmonizes the disturbed vibrations in the energy field. And this is why so many people, there's a misunderstanding, first of all, about chronic pain and a lot of other diseases. But when we harmonize, think of it like your body is a guitar and the strings are in the energy fields. You know how the strings are just right outside the guitar, right? Floating over the guitar. And when the strings go out of tune, you don't just throw out the guitar or cut it up, or you don't need to repair the guitar. You need to harmonize the strings. That's what's happening in your energy field with the biofield healing. It harmonizes, it tunes up your strings, and they talk to the body. And so back to what the physicists discovered, the first name they gave this biofield was information field, because they discovered the field was informing the body. The field informs the body 24/7. It's talking to your every cell in your body. The field is. So it's important to discover well, you don't have to understand with your mind what's in your field, but you have to understand that everything you're experiencing is in your field. So if you have unresolved emotions or certain very harmful ideas about your health or your life or your relationships, that's hanging out in your field. It's causing the strings to go out of tune. Are you with me? Yeah? Yeah. Some of you are going into a deeper state. I can see it and feel it. Just if that's happening, just go with it. Don't try to listen to what I'm saying. Just lay back and go with it, and you can listen to the replay. Otherwise, I hope you're getting and writing some of this down and really letting it sink in, because I cannot stress how the most important thing you can do is start to recognize what are the top ideas that you've been thinking about your health issues or your relationship issues or your lack of money or your lack of love or your lack of purpose or your lack of health or your lack of anything. What ideas do you repeat regularly? And you know what they are, because you're lying in bed at night thinking about it, or first thing in the morning. It's like first thought that comes, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's still here. How am I going to live like this? You're thinking about it, and you are. And then what are the emotions that are connected to those thoughts? Because thoughts generate an emotional reaction, and emotions cause you to think either positively or negatively based on how you're feeling. And then you have more thoughts, more emotions, more thoughts, more emotions, and you're caught on a merry-go-round and you can't get off the ride, and it's not a fun ride. So what my job is, and I'm doing it now, is I want to interrupt your pattern I want to shake you up. I want everyone to shake for a minute, just shake for a minute and say, I'm shaking up my patterns. I am shaking up my patterns today. I'm shaking them off. I'm shaking them out. I'm willing to shake up my patterns of what I thought was true and real. And notice if you have any resistance to looking or feeling silly or shaking something off. Watch your dog. Watch your dog. Dogs shake all the time. Shaking is actually a natural phenomenon to realign the spine, to realign. And when I work on people, you know what happens all the time? People's bodies start to shake and vibrate. Some people feel it internally. Most people actually have physical movement in their body. And some people, it's so dramatic, they're flipping and flopping and undulating like a fish right in front of me the whole time. You know why? Because their body is shaking off and readjusting and realigning. It's shaking off the patterns. The energy is releasing, and all those stuck patterns are leaving. And when I work with people, when you work in the energy field, it seems like you're just working on some invisible thing. But guess what? Your whole being is a body, mind, emotion, energy complex. You are a unit. You can't separate the body, the mind, the emotions, and the energy field. So when I work on people, it's a simultaneous body, mind, emotion, energy, spirit, right? We have to stop thinking about it as, oh, my body, oh, my emotions, my psychology, oh, my mental health. All these separations are causing problems. You can't just work on mental health because mind is completely connected to your emotions. And you can't pretend your emotions don't matter because you were told to grow up, or that you look silly, weak, and foolish, or you're going to get taken advantage of, or you look unprofessional, or grow up, or don't feel like that you shouldn't feel like that. And all those messages we've been given about emotions as if they're some big bad problem. One of my favorite, the now late PhD from UCLA, Dr. Valerie Hunt, the late Dr. Valerie Hunt, she had a research lab. She was one of the early birds in this realm of the energy field. She was the first person to photograph the field. And she had equipment that literally threw up on a, it showed the energy field around the body. And she said, and saw this over and over in all of her studies, that the emotions are emitting frequencies, and they are the strongest driver of health. And they are the key to either health or health. Those are my words, not hers. But the frequencies in your field are the key to either health or sickness. Works both ways. And she was really trying to get to impress upon people that emotional resilience, that means feeling all the range of all the emotions, is actually a sign of real health. But what most people do is they like to hang out in only a certain frequency range. And if you were ever taught, like I was taught growing up, the anger was not okay, crying was not okay, like you're somehow magically supposed to feel happy all the time. Let's get real. Who's happy all the time? And if you can't learn to fully express appropriately when you're angry or upset or feel ashamed or guilty or scared, I got to a point where I thought, well, I don't have any fear. Give me another pill. I don't have any fear. This is insanity, friends. You know that. You can't it's not bad or wrong or a sign of weakness to feel a variety of emotions. It's actually a sign of health. And so if Dr. Hunt saw that some women in particular, many women, they had like what I call too nice syndrome. They're supposed to be nice all the time. Oh, everything's fine. And they don't really mean it. And when you suppress this, how you really feel, and you do that long enough and you repeat and repeat, and inside you're just seething, and no one would have a clue. this comes out sideways as symptoms. Stomach aches, back aches, neck pain, shoulder pain, jaw pain, hip pain, digestive issues, insomnia, migraines. I've seen most of the people I've seen with thyroid issues, they all resolve their thyroid issues. And what I found in common, and again, I'm generalizing, but in common, what I saw was a suppression of the expression of their voice. This is our communication center. And when people stop saying what they mean or don't feel safe or free to be themselves and express themselves, something happens and it goes out of tune. And does anybody relate to this? Anybody resonating here? Because the good news is it's all changeable. That's the only thing I really want to impress upon you today. It's all changeable. And you're in the right place. All right. I would like to see in the chat some questions like Mahela's question, which is a great question. How can you feel where the problem is? In cases like the person who never knew that his birth was charged with the energy that caused his later blockages. That is a great question. I'm surprised people don't ask me that more often. Thank you for that question. So what I am able to do, and it's also what I train people to do in my practitioner training program, is I'm able to literally scan the energy field of an individual or a group. And I can feel, just like I'm touching something, where the disturbances are. And I don't need to know what the story was or is. I don't need to know what happened. I can interact with the biofield at any distance. And you don't even need to be on Zoom. And it requires developing a type of sensitivity, which I teach people, and I help people get activated because of my own vibrational frequency. Have you ever seen tuning forks? When they lay them all out together and they strike one tuning fork, all the tuning forks start to vibrate together. It's a principle in physics called resonance and called entrainment. And you begin to entrain with me when I work on you. And I bring in a full bandwidth of all these frequencies that you need. And I can feel where you need, and I start to interact, and you start to entrain with the frequencies. And it's harmonizing. It brings what they call coherency to your field. And then your field talks to your body, informs your body, and your body, see what I mean about the physical, shows up later, not first, but last. It's so exciting, and it can happen super fast. See, this work, again, I'm going to shake up your mind a little bit here, your belief system. We have been taught that everything takes time, takes a long time. Healing happens with layers, and you got to go back and you got to look at your history and you got to talk about all this. You got to cry about all this. That is one way. But when you start working at this level of healing with these quantum principles, you bypass, you go out, there's a state of being higher than the mental state. It's in this invisible field where we actually access the higher dimensional frequencies. You're a multi-dimensional being. Call that energy being, spiritual being, I don't care what you call it, but you are not a limited human being. You've been taught that you were, but this is what blows this out of the water, is that we're working at a different level. It's a different dimension of experience, and it's faster than the speed of light is what I think that the physicists are trying to explain. And when you're talking about, we've been taught that's impossible, but it isn't. And this is why people have instantaneous healing, just like your thoughts are instant. And if you've ever had, those of you with children, this may be more common, where all of a sudden you get a sense that there's danger with one of your children, and then you get the phone call. Anybody ever have that happen? Or someone you love, and you just think about them, and they come into your mind really strong, and then they call, or you get the email, or they show up at the door, or you drive into the grocery store and there they are. Or another great example, and I love the, oh wait, let me mute, somebody's unmuted. This is a great scientific example. Rupert Sheldrake, brilliant scientist, researcher. He wrote a book called The Sense of Being Stared At, and he studied dogs. And those of you with a dog might know what I'm talking about. How does the dog often know to get all excited and run to the front door before the car of who they love even pulls in the driveway? Because they are sensing the invisible realm at a higher level than humans. They are aware of sounds and communication taking place. They're bonded to you through the energy field, through love. Love is the highest vibration there is. And it's what bonds us in the energy field. And I could go on and on. There's another book by my friend Lynn McTaggart. She wrote the book called The Bond and The Field, two best-selling books. The Bond and The Field. If you like to geek out on the science, read those books. It's understandable. It's written for people like us, not for physicists. But Rupert Sheldrake did studies with animals and very interesting stuff. Explaining how we are all communicating all the time with each other. We're interconnected through what he calls the morphogenetic field. So whatever you call it, like I said, it doesn't matter to me. We're all connected and we're all resonating in some way, shape, or form on a similar vibration, or you wouldn't be here, or you would have left by now and rolled your eyes and said, that's cuckoo, bye-bye. But you're not. You're also, there's one person that has left. That's it. And that's probably because I'm going past the hour. So I'd like to take a couple more questions before we close the call tonight. If you would think about your toughest question and type that in the chat, I would love to take a shot at helping you with those questions tonight. And so back to that other brilliant question, the way that I want to go, okay. The way that I can find where the disturbances are, Mahela and everyone, is I feel it. I can feel it, sense it. I can scan your body, whether I'm on Zoom or a phone or not. And I can sense exactly where I need to work. And in most cases, it's where there are issues, but not always. Sometimes I need to work where there are not issues and where it helps balance things out. But I have a client right now. She's too electromagnetically sensitive to be able to even be on a computer. So I work with her without any device. And then she emails me after and tells me what results she gets. Now think about that. To most people, that sounds like Star Trek Impossible, but it's here. We're in it, the energy age. This is not make-believe. And in my early years of my practice, I didn't have Zoom ever. And I didn't want to be on the phone. I wanted to use my hands. So it's only in recent years, I actually started doing the Zoom thing because everybody got trained to do this and feels more comfortable with it. But I don't need it. We are so connected, and I've developed such a strong sensitivity and used it for the purpose of healing, for the good of all who want it, that I can scan and feel and find it. And it's really exciting and fun. Those of you who are interested in practitioner training, it's coming soon. So if you haven't filled out the questionnaire, please go to my website and click on Become a Practitioner and fill out the questionnaire, and you'll be invited, hopefully in February, if not, definitely in March, you'll be invited to a Q&A call where I'm going to talk all about it and what you'll learn in there and help you decide if it's a good fit for you and for me. And we will have an exciting year. The world needs more of this. And not to brag, I want to impress upon you, though, that this is a very unique method. And that in a scientific research lab, they told me that in 25 years of researching every healing modality under the sun, from massage to acupuncture to pranic healing, like many different type modalities, they said they had never seen results like we get with the Biofield healing method. They said I was getting 67% improvement starting in the very first session, and the average of all the others is maybe 10%. That's almost 7 times results. So I feel very grateful and blessed. I think really what it is that the time is right. You know, we're all living in this high-speed cyber 5G era, and we're all used to very high speed. We needed high-speed healing. That's why I call it high-speed healing. We needed a high speed because people don't have the patience anymore. They don't want it. I don't want it. I've always been impatient. I don't want to take 40 years to heal something. So not that everyone has instantaneous healing, but it is very common with this, and it's very possible with this because we're working outside the realm of time and space. And when you work outside the realm of time and space as we know it in the 3D, it makes instantaneous healing possible. It means you don't have to be in the room with me. I don't have to touch you. And it means that we don't have to wait a decade for it to take shape. So it's exciting. All right, let me go to the chat and see the questions. All right. What about dental issues? Well, again, see, your question tells me that we have a very strong misunderstanding about bones and about dental in general. And it's still kind of in the dinosaur age, really, in my humble opinion, because everything's energy, including your teeth and your bones, and they grow and they change. And if I told you that I actually studied under a Russian physicist, an MD, who literally people were growing their teeth back after having them pulled, growing organs back that were surgically removed. Most people here in the US still don't think that's possible, but it is. So we have to understand everything is changeable. That's why I don't want you to give up hope. We're at the tip of the iceberg. We're at the tip of an avalanche in your lifetime, most likely, that we're going to see things that we really thought were only made for TV, unreality shows, you know? And that's because there's just been a very limited view of what's possible and how to heal. But the teeth, I have people come all the time, nerve pain or dental issues, you know, after a tooth was pulled, or they have a toothache and they're trying to avoid having a tooth pulled, or they have been told they have TMJ and it couldn't be further from the truth. And they have whatever, you know, this whole nerve, the trigeminal nerve or whatever. There's a lot. We just need to harmonize it, right? It's out of tune. It's out of tune. Right. Let me go back to the chat. All right. Tanya, who's in the chat, she's worked with me many times, and she plays the harp, which is really an interesting instrument. And she said, I've considered cutting out the string of my harp at times because the disharmony was unbearable. But I surely have considered the same with my body, but no more. Now I take the time to do the tune-ups. She comes to me for tune-ups. And, you know, she's a great example of somebody who's really come a long way in a short time. And my God, she's just not even the same person. So it's exciting when you see that and get to work with people over a period of time and really see the dramatic changes that are possible. Let's see here. What else do we have in the chat? Nancy's taking extensive notes. All right, Nancy. Oh, yeah. So Jean is asking, she said, during my meditation state, I see walls and paintings and people in conversations. What is going on? What more is possible? Thank you for teaching me not to panic because of painful symptoms. Yeah, so like I said, there are multiple dimensions going on at the same time. Think of it like parallel universes. Think of it like when you watch cable TV, there are 100 different channels. They're all available at the same time, but you clicked channel 12. So you're watching channel 12 as if it's the only station there is. But if you click one frequency over, you get channel 10, and you click again, channel 9, and 100 different stations. When you drop into these higher brainwave states, some people, or through a really strong meditation practice, which often takes years, but you may have an experience you don't expect just suddenly happen. You're accessing different frequencies, different dimensional experiences. It's like a bleed through to another channel. So you exist in other realities as well. And when you're present in the here and now, and you tune up here and now, it's also affecting you. So it affects you, it affects your lineage. You really only have to be present in this moment. And I know a lot of people find it fascinating, and they can get lost on the trail of past lives and all of that for a long time. I'm not saying you shouldn't go there or explore it or learn about it, but right here and now is where we're meant to be, or we wouldn't be here. And, I've just watched people kind of get lost in all of that, and sometimes miss out on the very things here and now that they need to be experiencing in order to grow. And we can use meditation, we can use past life and regression, all these things as an escape. So only you will know. I'm not saying the person asking this question, I'm not saying you're doing that. I just sort of went on a tangent there that felt like it needed to be expressed. So somebody needs to hear that. But during meditation, you might see all kinds of interesting things, and your inner guidance might be talking to you. People report seeing people in all kinds of things all the time when I work on them, because you're accessing, remember, the field is wide open. So you're accessing information all the time. Tina's asking a beautiful question. What can we do at home to deal with the trauma that we've endured in our lifetime? Now, I work with a lot of people with like very severe trauma, and I personally have come to believe that most people, I'm not saying you, and I'm not saying everyone, but most people will not, in the beginning, sit home alone with some recording on a device and tap into their deepest trauma by themselves. It's not going to happen. And you know why? Because it's scary. And they're afraid. They're afraid they're going to go out of control. They're afraid they're never going to stop crying. They're afraid they won't be able to handle it. What if they can't go to work in the morning? What if they can't pay their bills? I believe having a guide that you can trust for a period of time until you're stable and realize, no, you're not going to fall apart. And you have the tools for releasing, which is the fastest, safest way to do it, is with the biofield healing, because it doesn't re-trigger the trauma. It might bring it up and move it out really quickly and shock the hell out of you. But because I see that every day, it's why I feel like God gave me such a gift here with this, because I've watched people be in therapy for 30 years and not release all their trauma. And then I've watched people that I've worked with over a month or 2 or 3. And again, I had a client today, a month ago. Holy cow. She's like a completely different person. And this is someone who was raped, and, there's just so much trauma that I've discovered. I've discovered most people are either don't know they have the trauma because they haven't yet been in a safe enough space with somebody where it was safe to come up, or they don't want to remember it because it was horrible. And so they've repressed it and tried to cope and live and get around it. And yet it's still influencing their happiness and their health and their relationships. And so it needs to come up and be released safely and as quickly as possible without re-triggering it. And that's You know, I think once you have the tools that I teach in my program, you'll be fine alone in the living room. But you need to know what to do with emotions, in particular when they come up. And that's what most people have gotten really good at: suppressing, repressing, denying, and pretending, oh, I don't feel like that. And the world enforces that, reinforces that. So, plus, quite frankly, I also believe that, I've come to believe that we're not meant to be alone all the time. Like, when our deepest hurts are witnessed by someone you trust, ooh, they release quicker, they dissipate faster, and you become more free more quickly and easily. I'm not saying sit and talk about the problem the rest of your life. I'm saying witness with the right tools, with someone who knows and is skilled at giving you unconditional acceptance and not bad advice. Just my opinion, take it or not. All right, let's see. Let me go back to the questions. And let's see here. Hang on, let me find the questions again. How can we help to clear out our biofield on a regular basis? Either joining my group program or learning how to do it yourself. That's why I'm focusing more right now on the practitioner training, so more and more people this year and beyond will get the tools. I've trained about 300 people so far, but I really feel in the future, my vision, I see every household would have someone in the household, in every family. If one person, imagine this, if one person knew how to do what I do, think what that would mean. You would do this first, not the last thing after you've tried 20 years of doing everything else. You would do this first. You would save so much time, energy, and money. You would save trips to the ER. You would save all those visits, because I've seen it over and over again, especially with children. Oh my God, they love this. They respond to it rapidly. I'll never forget someone I trained years ago, and he had two boys. And little boys, they're always scraping and breaking something. And so he was able to he worked, went through my program. He first himself, he came into my program because he had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid issue, and something else. Anyway, it was a lot. He had to stop working. He wasn't even supporting his family. His wife had to go to work. He couldn't coach Little League anymore. It was bad. And nothing was working for him. So he went through my pain-free living program, complete healing, got all his energy back, discovered he hated his job as an accountant for 30 years. He hated the work, hated it. And he took my practitioner training, opened up a private practice, started making money, coaching Little League. Everything changed. So I think everyone should learn this. Or at least someone in your immediate circle, right? And then, by the way, what's interesting too is you can use it on gardens, bodies of water. I have farmers who have been trained in it that work on their crops. I have one woman who works on exotic animals. You can work on your dogs and cats, your animals. I had one woman with a snake that I worked on for a long time. I've worked on many, many very special horses, race horses, show horses. It has a wide variety. It's not, you don't have to just do it like I do it. It also stimulates creativity and productivity. I've had little children that I've worked on. One in particular comes to mind because overnight she had the biggest urge to paint. And I've seen this with a lot of people. They start to want to paint or draw or write a book, or some kind of creativity shows up. And it also accentuates athletic ability. So I work with young people, like one that comes to mind who he got injured. He was running track at college and he was on scholarship, and he got injured. and he was flunking out of school. So his mother said, "Can you help my son?" And of course I did. And within a month, his grades, he's back up, his energy, he's healed, he's running again. I mean, his athletic ability improved. And a colleague of mine who runs these marathon Ironmans, and he was in another country to run a race, and he injured his foot or ankle or something, and called me, "Can you work on me?" And I worked on him. He ran the race the next day with no pain. Ran the very next day, as if it didn't exist. I had this myself last week. I was stretching out in the bathroom, and it's too small of a bathroom, and I was shaking out one of my legs, and I kicked a space heater very rigorously. Blood everywhere, black overnight, within like a couple hours, black and blue, my whole foot, black and blue, my toe is swelling up. So I started to work on it right away. I had no pain by that evening. I went to Pilates the next day. My foot looked horrible for days, black and blue, but I got rid of the pain and I was able to move it. I was careful. And now it's about a week later. There's no black and blue. I've just the tip of my toe where it got kicked the worst is a little purple. I've been going to yoga every day. It's like, this is unheard of. My girlfriend said I did the same thing. I couldn't wear a shoe for a month, she told me. This is why I call it high-speed healing. It speeds up the healing process. I don't want to wait a month to go to yoga. No, thank you. All right, one more question here. I keep going to the wrong place. Sorry, where's the chat? Here it is. All right, is it more effective in person? What do you know about the person before you can help them? Okay, so no, it is not more effective in person. Some people prefer the recordings. I had a person with MS who'd been in a wheelchair. I've had actually 3 people with MS who were in wheelchairs and had not walked. One of them only listened to a recording. I never worked with her live or in a group. She stood up and walked after the first recording. All 3 are walking now. One came into the group, one worked with me privately. It's an illusion, this idea that there is time and space. There is no time and space. There's only now, and we're connected right now. And the frequencies, think of it like music. The frequencies are embedded just like sound waves are recorded like music on a record album, a CD, or your device. It's no different. So we need to change this concept about time and space. This is a non-local field, local, L-O-C-A-L. That means you don't have to be in my presence for this to work. That's what's revolutionary about it. How cool is that? And then there's one more great question I want to answer, and that is, how do we learn to heal ourselves if we don't have the gift that you have, Deborah? Everybody listen to this. Please listen carefully. Yes, I received a gift from the universe, from God. Is this a gift unique to me? And oh, guess what? Absolutely everyone can do this. I'm telling you, I don't care. The only thing different between you and me is your ideas about this. And that's why in my training, most of the training, quite frankly, is helping you bust up the false ideas that keep you from being able or willing to practice what I teach you. Because you'll have ideas that are just not true come up. And that's one of them. This gift is not unique to me. Yes, I'm grateful. And I stepped in and said yes to the gift. And I have not looked back for many years. I've gotten really good at it, but that doesn't mean you can't. You will, in the practitioner training, you will be practicing it and getting results before we're halfway through. And I have seen that in every single person I've ever trained, from an 8-year-old boy to someone in their 80s. Men, women, any age, any profession. I've trained doctors, nurses, secretaries, hairdressers, stay-at-home mom. It doesn't matter who you are. We got to get rid of all these ideas. These are limited ideas that keep you from expanding into the multidimensional energy being that you are. And I will end this call tonight on that note, that I will save you a seat and hold the knowing for you till you get it. You are not a limited, teeny tiny, no power human being. You're wearing a human suit, just like a car, but you are not your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are a very powerful, energetic, spiritual being. And don't forget it. And keep coming back till you get it. Keep coming back till you get it. Because one day, just like me, you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to go, oh my God, I get it. And it's going to, just like the flower just blooms all of a sudden, and you've been watering it, and then it blooms. And then you'll never look back, and you'll never think the same way. You'll never be the same. You will have an awakening. And that's what it's all about, awakening and continuing to expand. And so I thank you, everybody. Let's unmute and say goodnight to each other. Let me pull that up. How do I do that? Hold on here. Where are my participants? All right.
Thank you. Good night.
That was painful. Sorry, somebody's on 2 devices. All right, thank you all so much for being here. Much love to you. Download the book. Reach out to me if you'd like my help. Come get trained. Have a good evening or day wherever you live in the world. And I truly am honored that you have all been here tonight. Much love. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Much
Good
love.
night, everybody.
Thank you.